Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film a recent reads video and to say hello. And I know it's been a while since I've posted a video, and I also wanted to do a brief check-in, sort of life update type of a discussion. So let's just get right to it. So where have I been? So it's been a weird month for me. The beginning of December was very busy with work, and I was, traveling a lot, and I didn't have much time and didn't have much mental space for reading. And so the month started off very slowly, as I discussed in my mid-month book bash blog, which you will have seen. I hadn't even completed a book until that weekend. So that was like 2 weeks into the month. And then, so the other thing that was happening was that I was in preparation for a major surgery. So I had LASIK surgery on my eyes last Monday, which is a surgery to correct my vision, my distance vision. So I no longer need to wear glasses or contact lenses to see distance. And that is new for me since I was about 10 years old, was when I started wearing glasses. And I've always needed corrective lenses for my distance vision. And this surgery that I did on Monday corrected that. So it's all done with lasers. It's amazing technology. In less than 15 minutes, both eyes had been lasered and corrected, and I no longer need to wear lenses to correct my distance vision. However, I am a middle-aged person, and I had already been diagnosed with presbyopia, which is the problem that old people have when they can't see things close up. I had started wearing progressive lenses a couple of years ago, and the LASIK surgery does not correct that problem of not being able to see things close up. So I still do have readers, and I need those to see things close up. So in order to read anything, I have to wear glasses. So when I drive, I don't need corrective lenses. When I'm out in the field or exercising or doing anything like that, I don't need lenses. But when I'm working at the computer or I'm reading a book or anything like that, I do need my readers just to see text close up. So leading up to the surgery on Monday, I was really anxious, the way that you are when you're about to do something major like that to one of your body parts. So I was not feeling able to really concentrate very much on reading, and I basically leaned into comfort reading, cozy reading type things. And so we'll discuss some of that, what I've read in the past couple of weeks. It's all been like basically genre fiction stuff that will allow me to escape into a book, which is, my preferred way of dealing with anxiety and stress. And of course, since Monday, I've been dealing with the recovery process, which is just amazingly quick for LASIK surgery. Unbelievable how quickly you do recover from that. And but the reading has been slow because I've been adjusting to this new way of seeing the world that is much different than the way that I saw the world previous to that surgery. So, but I have been doing some reading. So I do want to talk about books that I've completed so far in the month of December. So I've read 5 books total, just finished one earlier today. 2 of them were audiobooks because, like I said, I was traveling a lot for work at the beginning of the month, and so audiobook worked really well for that. And the other 3 are all genre fiction, comfort, cozy reads. So let's just talk about everything real quick. The first thing I finished this month, and I already talked about this in the blog, so I won't go into it here in detail, is A Mumbai Murder Mystery by Meeti Shroff-Shah. This is a contemporary mystery set in Mumbai about a woman who's moved back home after being gone for like 10 years and gets embroiled in trying to solve the mystery of her best friend father's death. And it's super fun, really a good time. Lots of wealthy people doing strange things, very, very entertaining. Really enjoyed myself with this read. So that was the first thing I finished. The second thing I finished was an audiobook, and that was Factory Girls by Gallen. This is the second book that I've read by this author and her second published book. This is a novel about a young woman named Maeve who is just graduated from high school and is waiting on her exam results to see if she's going to be able to go to college. She lives in Ireland, I can't remember what town she lives in, but it's in Northern Ireland, and her town is embroiled in the Troubles, and she is Catholic, and she is been living in this town with all these sort of violent actions happening, political actions happening all around her whole life, and that's been something that she's had to deal with. And so this in-between summer, she has gotten a job at a local factory, her and her two best girlfriends, and she's like determined that she's going to get out of this town, this shitty wee town, as she calls it, and continue her life somewhere else. But in the meantime, we're following her as she deals with this new life that she's trying to lead in her town as she waits for her exam results. I really love this book. I did not like it as well as Gallen's first book, Big Girl, Small Town. I bet he read this with Shawn the Book Maniac. He has a great review of it on his channel where he talks about some of the problems that he had with it, with the pacing, and he felt the character development was not as good as in the first book. Whereas I didn't have any issues with the character development, mostly because I related so strongly to Maeve and her two best friends. Their friendship group was like spot on, in my opinion. Like, I am of an age with Maeve, and 1994, I was also in college. I'm like a couple years older than she is in the book, and the way that she and her friends interact with each other was highly, highly relatable to me. And while I didn't grow up in a town that was experiencing the kind of violence that her town was, like, just the small town nature of it, the different characters that she interacts with, like, all of it just rang very true for me, and just it's written with a lot of humor. Maeve is very raunchy, and she's always having a very colorful way to describe things, and I just really enjoyed her voice and her perspective and this friendship group that she belongs to, while also really enjoying the themes that Gallen is exploring in this book, like themes of the political nature of the conflict between the Catholics, the Protestants, and the English, the issues with sexism that Maeve deals with on a day-by-day basis, how women are treated, what is expected of women in this time, in this place, how she's trying to navigate, the change between her childhood and wanting to be an adult, like all of this stuff. Really, really good. So enjoyed that very much. Would highly recommend on audiobook. Has a wonderful narrator. And then the third thing that I will talk about is a DNF that I had. So I was supposed to read See What I Have Done by Sarah Schmidt as my second book for Cloak and Dagger Christmas. Was buddy reading this with Britta Bohler, and I read the first 125 pages of this historical fictionalization of the Lizzie Borden story, and I just did not like the writing style in this at all. I found it to be very off-putting. It really held me at a distance. I couldn't get a grasp on what the characters were trying to do or trying to say. I didn't find anybody. It's very gross in its descriptions, like of the murder scene and just bodily functions in general that really are just seem to be in there for the gross out effect. It's very slow paced. It was just the writing style, though, is just what really, I just could not imagine getting through the rest of this book. And so I DNF'd it. So Britta did continue on with it, and I'm sure she will talk about it on her channel. But for me, this was not anything that was for me. So that one, unfortunately, couldn't hang with that. And then I had heard Maura over on Books Like Whoa talk about a book series, a science fiction book series that she's really been enjoying by an author that I have enjoyed in the past, but for a different series. And that author's name is Ilona Andrews. That's a husband and wife writing team. And the series is, the first book in this sci-fi series is called Clean Sweep. I read it on my e-reader. And it is such a fun little tale. It is the story of this woman who runs an inn, and the inn is for intergalactic travelers. And so in this universe, Earth is sort of like the Atlanta of the universe. So like it's the hub of a lot of different places. And so when folks are traveling through the universe, like Earth is often like this connective piece. And so there's this series of inns that are run by aliens. Of course, humans don't know that it's aliens that are running these places, and they're there to serve as stopovers, way stations for intergalactic travelers. And so this young woman, her parents were innkeepers, and she has decided to take on the family business. And so we're learning about her, what the situation is with her family, what the situation is with the guests. She has one long-term guest and then some new guests. Some weird things are happening in her neighborhood, and she realizes that these weird things that are happening are due to infestation of some aliens. And she realizes she's going to have to take care of these aliens because she doesn't want her human neighbors to figure out what's going on. And it's just a rollicking, romping good time. If you like adventure, if you like quirky sci-fi, if you like the scene in Star Wars where Luke Skywalker meets up with I don't remember who he was meeting up with, but he goes to that bar, right, with all the intergalactic travelers, and he realizes like just how weird the universe is, and like all these different, maybe it wasn't Luke Skywalker, maybe it's Han Solo. It's been a while since I've seen Star Wars. But anyway, you remember the bar scene, right, with all the different characters from all the different species and the different aliens. Like that is what this book, Clean Sweep, feels like. And so it was a super fun time, really quick read. I think I read it in like less than 24 hours tops, and really allowed me to escape my pre-operation anxiety. So highly recommend that. And I will be continuing on in the series. And then the day before my operation, I had to travel 4 hours away to stay in another city, Portland, Maine. That's where my surgeon is. And so I had to stay in a hotel prior to the surgery and then post-surgery so that I could have a follow-up visit the next day with my doctor. And so I had to do a little bit of Christmas shopping that Sunday, and I went to a bookstore, of course, because some of the presents I needed to purchase were books. And I saw Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree on the shelf, and I was like, I've heard that this is cozy fantasy, and that seems like exactly what I should be reading here, as I am trying not to think about the fact that I'm going to have lasers shot into my eyes tomorrow. So I picked that book up and I read it in one night. It is such a cute story. It's only about 250 pages long. It is a cozy fantasy. It's what's considered a low stakes, high fantasy about this orc who does not want to be in the mercenary fighting business anymore. And so she decides that she is going to open a coffee shop in a town where nobody's ever heard of coffee or doesn't even know what coffee is. And so she sets herself up, and it's all about found family and her meeting all these people that like help her start her business, and learning to trust people, and learning what's important, and how your community is really the thing that sustains you, and what success looks like is not always financial success or success in your chosen profession. It sometimes is the people that you surround yourself with and the life that you build for yourself in your community. Is just a delight. Everybody is absolutely correct in that if you just need like a comforting, warm hug of a story, that is a great one to pick up. So I loved Legends and Lattes, and I'm so glad that I read that during a time when I really needed some comfort. And then last but not least, the last book I want to talk about is the book that my second audiobook, and the book that I finished this morning, and that is this memoir, Sigh, a Misfits memoir of great books, punk rock, and the fight to fit in by Phuc Tran. So Phuc Tran is a immigrant to this country. He came as a 2-year-old child with his parents after the fall of Saigon, in the early 70s. Actually, Tran and myself are the same age. We graduated from high school in the same year. His family ends up, after they are able to escape from Saigon, they end up in a town called Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And so this is all about Tran's life with his parents and his brother, and his efforts to like basically be a regular American, quote unquote. And this is a good story. Like, I really particularly enjoyed the parts of this memoir that dealt with Tran's discovery of his love of literature and reading, and how much that shaped the direction that his life has taken, and how he realized like how important school was to him, and how he was willing to sort of buck the trends of what was cool at that time in the late 80s, early 90s, to really focus on his schoolwork. And that whole part of the story I really enjoyed. I enjoyed, how he embraced punk rock and like being a skater as an early teen, and how he sort of found his tribe, his group of kids to hang out with through that, through those hobbies of skating and punk rock and like being in a band and all that sort of thing. Like those folks really became his support system in his high school years, which was great to read about. The parts of this that were difficult were all of his relationship with his parents, which is very fraught, or was very fraught as he was growing up. His parents really struggled to assimilate to American culture, particularly in speaking English. Tran's mom, Phuc's mom, did not ever become really fluent in English, and his dad really struggled with it as well. His dad had been a lawyer in Vietnam, but when they moved here, he was not able to undertake that profession, and became I think he worked at a tire factory or something like that. And yeah, they struggled, and there is a lot of abuse in this story. Some pretty shocking episodes, actually, in Phuc Tran's early childhood, and even into his teenage years, that were like, wow, can't believe that happened kind of moments. So if that's something that you find difficult to read about, just be warned, that's in there. My real problem, though, with this book was not that. My real problem with this book is that Tran recounts conversations that he has with people in detail, and I just find it hard to believe that he would remember like that level of detail with these conversations. Conversations he had with teachers, conversations that he had with a college, like a recruiter person who interviewed him as he was applying for colleges. We are the same age, and so I don't remember the conversations that I had with people from that time period. I know I was also interviewed for college, and I couldn't tell you one word of that conversation. So like, I just have a hard time buying into the idea in memoirs that folks remember that level of detail. And I know that memoir is different than like straight up nonfiction, in that this is his version of his own story, right? So this is how he remembers it, which is fine. But when you're recounting whole conversations like that, like, I just really have a hard time staying with you and staying convinced that this is what really happened. I would prefer sort of a more straight up storytelling type of a thing, and less dialogue, I guess, at that point. So that's just that's my nitpick with this. Otherwise, this is a very good memoir, a really interesting account of an immigrant story from a person who's been quite successful in their life and in their career. So yeah, really, mostly good, mostly positive things to say about this memoir. So that's it. Those are the books that I read so far in the month of December, and my update for what's going on with me and everything in my life right now. So I hope you're all doing well. I know you've probably noticed behind me, it's very windy outside. We're currently experiencing a really bad storm. We're mostly getting rain. but very, very high winds. So fingers crossed the power stays on. I hope you all have happy holidays and find some relaxing time to enjoy yourselves and maybe read some books. That's what I'm hoping for myself. Anyway, I hope to be back with another video soon, and I'll talk to you later.